how to prevent bloating. So let me start by saying it is not normal to feel bloated every single night and to have a belly full of gas by the end of every evening. It is totally normal to have a belly that is naturally bigger than in the morning because you ate something and there's food inside and you just have a full and happy stomach. But that's not annoying, and that doesn't hurt, and that doesn't cause any discomfort. So today I'm going to share my experience and my tips how I prevent my belly from being bloated so I don't even get bloated. For me, bloating can take maybe 1 day to go away, but then again, serious bloating might take up to 4 days to go away. So imagine, if I eat something on Sunday that bloated me, I might be suffering from it until Thursday. So for me, it's really important to prevent bloating and make sure I don't get bloated that often, so I don't have to handle all this discomfort too often in my life. Oh, and on a side note, so if I haven't been bloated for a long time, I look so much skinnier, I have all those abs and I look super lean, and then I eat something that bloats me and poof, all those abs are gone within a second and I look so much heavier and I look like I gained 4 kilograms, although obviously my weight is still the same and my body fat percentage is also still the same, but I just look different. So if you have the goal to look lean and look skinnier and maybe lose weight, make sure that you are not bloated constantly, because that will just give you a wrong picture of yourself and your body, and you are actually skinnier than you think you are just because you are bloated all the time. Before we dive into everything, I want to recommend doing a stool test once again, checking your gut microbiome and just making sure that everything in your precious belly is in balance and working correctly, because that's the base of everything. If that's not working correctly, all the experience and tips that I'm going to give to you regarding bloating might not be working because there is a bigger issue behind it. So having that said, let's dive into all my experience. And the next things that I'm going to tell you are probably so well known that you might think, but they are really important, and I think people don't really pay attention to them anymore. So number one is sleeping enough. So if I sleep 7 to 8 hours a night, my system is working properly, my digestion is good, I can go to the bathroom in the morning, and I'm just feeling good. And if I don't sleep those 7 to 8 hours a night, I tend to react to food worse, I get bloated easier, and I'm just not feeling as good as I possibly can. And my belly is probably just thinking, no, I still want to sleep. So it's not only beauty sleep, it's also belly and digestion sleep. Number 2 is chew your food. Because my belly is not a high-speed blender, and I think yours isn't either. So the only thing that you can control is how well you chew the food in your mouth. And everything else down here is not under your control anymore. So I make sure I give my body the easiest time by chewing my food properly, and then the rest of my body doesn't need to work as hard anymore to digest it. Next one is drink enough water. And maybe that comparison is wrong, but in my head I always imagine it like this. A toilet cannot flush anything down with 1 glass of water. It needs several liters to flush. And otherwise it would get clogged and it would get constipated and it just wouldn't be able to work. So my body also needs several liters of water a day. I most of the times drink 2 or 2.5 liters of water, and then it's able to flush everything out correctly and not get constipated and just work as it should be working. And if I would only drink 1 glass of water a day, it probably would get stuck somewhere in between. Also, an important one for me is moving my body. That doesn't need to be a gym session every day. Maybe just a walk outside or something that involves moving, just like an active day. That really helps me to get my metabolism running and get my digestion going and not suffer from bloating that easily when I eat food. And last one of the basic ones is breathe deeply. And I have to say, I don't breathe deeply all the time. I sometimes only breathe up here and not down to my belly. And once at a massage, a therapist told me, wow, you really need to breathe deeper. And I thought, oh shit, if she noticed, I really need to improve that. And every time I really focus on deep breathing and I'm really conscious about that, I do feel so much better. Foods that bloat me. So I am a very conscious eater, meaning I can tell you what I ate today and I can also tell you what I ate yesterday, and I just know what I eat and I can remember that. But still, it took me a lot of time to figure out what foods I react to, because there is a certain time delay, which makes it very difficult. Meaning if I eat something and 5 minutes afterwards I feel super bloated, that doesn't mean that I reacted to that food. That might also be the lunch from yesterday or the dinner from yesterday, or maybe even the dinner from 2 days ago causing that bloating. Because maybe eating something woke up my digestive system, and then the dinner from 2 days ago arrived at a certain point in my digestive system and caused bloating, but that has nothing to do with the food that I just put into my mouth. But it is still possible to find out what foods you react to, and I did that with starting a food diary. And most of the times you have the feeling, for example, oh, I do feel like chickpeas might bloat me. And then you just write down when you ate chickpeas and then pay a lot of attention to your feeling on day 1 and day 2 and day 3 and just see how your body reacts to it. And then maybe over time you might find out that chickpeas or I don't know, gluten or dairy or something bloats you, because every time you eat that, you feel very bloated on day 1 or day 2 or day 3. If that makes any sense to you, I know it requires some work, but for me it was definitely worth it, because I was able to figure out pretty well what I react nicely to and what I cannot handle that well. And foods that bloat me don't need to bloat you, because we are all different. We have different gut microbiomes. We live in different environments, probably different countries. Even if your mom was breastfeeding you, makes a difference to your gut microbiome. So we all have a different basis, and I can only tell you the foods that personally cause me bloating, and maybe that helps you at least in finding indicators for your food diary. Okay, here we go. Onions and garlic are a no for me. And then chickpeas, beans and lentils, I would only consume them in moderation whenever I have like a bikini shooting or a gym shooting coming up, just because I do feel like they always cause me some kind of bloating. And if I only eat little amounts, it's kind of fine. But still, if I don't want to be bloated, I will not eat chickpeas and beans and lentils. Regarding veggies, I have a hard time with cauliflower and with kale. I know kale is like the health food and there's kale salad everywhere, but I have a very hard time with like kale salad, etc. So I most of the times just skip on cauliflower and kale. Artificial sweeteners and highly processed products, and I'm not even like talking about burgers or I don't know, something that you can find in the supermarket, but I also mean like protein products which are highly processed. So I'm not talking about a piece of meat, but like protein bars and protein powders which are not based on natural foods, but which are filled with artificial sweeteners and chemicals and fillers and unnatural flavorings, cookie dough, brownie, all this kind of stuff, which is not based on natural food, but which was created in a laboratory. Let's put it like that. This will cause me a lot of bloating, and I will also get a lot of acne from it, which I also don't want to have. So I always limit those foods to an absolute minimum to I don't eat any of them at all. So I really encourage you to check if the protein products that you might be taking are natural, or if they just have a lot of chemical stuff inside of them. And if they do have, that might be the issue why you are bloated all the time. And the biggest rule for me is actually don't overeat, which is so hard because I love my food and I love everything that I cook and I love my snacks, and I have a very hard time stopping to eat if I think it's very delicious, and my brain would just continue eating and eating and eating and not notice that I'm actually not hungry anymore. But I always try to tell myself, stop eating when you're full, because that's when I will feel best afterwards. If I overeat on peanut butter and 5 bowls of porridge, I will feel bloated afterwards. If I overeat on a huge bowl of salad, although salad is healthy, I will feel bloated from that salad. And if I eat a huge pot of veggies, which is also so delicious to me, and we all know veggies are healthy, I will feel so bloated from eating a kilogram of veggies. So I really try to remember to not overeat and stop when I am full. And I have to say, I still don't remember that all the time, because that's most of the times the issue. When I am bloated, it's probably because I was overeating and not remembering that I should stop when I'm feeling full. Foods that are very easy for me to handle and that I barely get any bloating from ever are nuts, nut butter, dried fruit, fresh fruit, all those energy bars and nut bars that have like a very natural base, that are only based on dates and nuts and coconut flakes and cacao powder and all that kind of stuff, so not the artificial ones. Meat is very easy for me to digest. Soups, cooked veggies, porridge, everything that basically looks a little bit pre-digested and is not raw anymore. That's the easiest stuff for me. Last but not least, some quick tips that really help me in my daily life and that prevent bloating for me. Warm food is easier to digest than cold food. Same goes for cooked veggies are easier to digest than raw veggies. Don't eat fruit as dessert, because if it's a dessert, you just ate a main dish, which was probably bigger and heavier, and it sits in your stomach and fills up your stomach. And this probably needs hours to be digested, and the fruit then sits on top, and it will start to ferment and build gases and cause you maybe bloating. At least that's what I noticed, so I never eat fruit as dessert. Last but not least, some supplements that I personally take almost on a daily basis that really help me to prevent a bloated belly. Number 1 is my beloved apple cider vinegar. It can be any brand, I just use this one, as long as it still has the mother of the apple cider vinegar inside. And I take like 1 zip of this before I start eating that day. So I take the zip about 10 to 15 minutes before I start eating, and that kind of kickstarts the power of my digestive system. And the second thing that I take almost every day are digestive bitters. I have used different brands, but it's basically just a mixture of bitter substances of natural foods, for example artichoke or something like that. And nowadays our foods have a very minimal percentage of bitter flavors or tastes, and they are actually very beneficial for our digestive system. So those bitter substances, they will also kickstart your digestive system, get the digestive juices flowing, and help digesting your food. I know that was a lot of talking. Thanks to everyone who is still with me right now. I hope I was able to help somebody with my own experience, and I will of course continue this series and maybe talk more about it, probably how to fight a bloated belly if you do have a bloated belly. So thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a wonderful day.